Welcome, Stachers, and I represent Stache Sports. Yes, I know it's off yesterday, and we have a lot to talk about today. I hope you all had a good Easter and had an enjoyable Easter with your friends and family, and had a good Easter, however you celebrate Easter. I hope you enjoyed your Easter. I had a good Easter yesterday and had a nice Easter. I hope you all enjoyed your Easter Sunday too. Tonight, we have a men's college basketball game between Michigan and Ucoon, University of Connecticut and Michigan. I know you never bet against Dan Hurley, but I don't know who I'm picking tonight. I'll tell you later on who I'm picking tonight. First, we'll go back to the games on Saturday that we missed since we didn't have an episode on Sunday. The first game was Ucoon and Illinois. Ucoon won 71-62. Illinois almost came back near the end there, near the end of 5 minutes, but Ucoon was too much for them, and Ucoon won. Dan Hurley's really good in the Final Four. Never bet against Dan Hurley. He's won a couple championships like last year's. He didn't win last year, but I think he won a couple years ago because the Florida Gators won last year. But he's doing pretty good. He's a good coach. I don't think he's lost in the Final Four yet, and he's going to the national championship yet again. But they won 71-62. It was a close game to the end, but I don't know. This Michigan basketball team is looking really good. This Michigan basketball team is looking really good. The last time Michigan Wolverines won a national championship game was 1989 when my brother Kyle was born and the Fab Five was around. But it's been a long time since Michigan's won. Ucon's won it a couple years ago. But the last time Michigan won was 1989 with the Fab Five. This team looks like they could be one of the best Michigan teams even though we had a Fab Five. I mean, I know the Fab Five are good, but these Michigan Wolverines men's basketball team is steamrolling everybody. They played Arizona on Saturday night, and I thought the Arizona Wildcats were going to give them a game, but they came out strong, Michigan, and had a really strong lead at halftime. They're winning 48-32 at halftime. Michigan was against the number one Arizona Wildcats, who in my opinion, I think were one of the second best teams in basketball, but they just outmanhandled them, and looked a lot better and played a lot better defense and shot. I know Arizona had a lot of missed shots and stuff, but the Michigan Wolverines just looked a lot better. They beat Howard 101-88. They beat St. Louis, who was number 9, 95-72. They beat Alabama, and they just were going to start getting good. Alabama's a decent basketball team, and it was a good basketball team this year under Nate Oates. And they beat them 90-77. They beat Tennessee, who's the number 6 seed, and Tennessee looked really good coming out of the SEC. They beat them 95-62. And they beat Arizona 91-73. Those are little big outcomes. They scored 90 points in all the games. I think this is the first time that's happened since quite a while that a team has scored that many points against opponents in the March Madness tournament. It's going to be interesting to see tonight. I know Dan Hurley has that team always prepared well for championship games and has them good, and UConn's always a good team, and you never bet against Dan Hurley. But I think I have to agree with Charles Barkley. I think this Michigan team is just a team that it's really good, and it's going to be really hard to beat. I think Michigan's going to win it all this tonight. Even though my dog picked Michigan to win it all in the bracket and could beat everybody in the bracket if Michigan wins, I think Michigan's going to win it. I don't know how good it's going to be interesting if it's a close game because, like I said, the last few games, Michigan has been steamrolling them and not making a competitive game and looking really good and dominating in all aspects of the game. So it's going to be interesting tonight to see if Dan Hurley can have his team prepared well enough not to get demolished by Michigan. I know Dusty May is looking really good as a coach and it's really turned that program around in Michigan. This could be the first time since 1989 that they have won a championship. They've been in other championship games, but they have a pretty bad record. They're like 1 and whatever in championship games. So maybe they get 2 wins tonight in championship games. It's going to be interesting to see, like I said. I don't know why it starts at 8:50. I hope they don't have another stupid Chainsmokers concert like they did there in the Final Four. That game was on really late and came on 9:12, but at least I got to watch a new show. But anyway, I hope it's a good game tonight. That's the only thing I want. I want it to be a good game. It's going to be interesting to see. I know Dan Hurley has came back from like a 19-point deficit against Duke and beat Duke by last second because Duke blew that game away in the Elite Eight. So you don't count out Dan Hurley, and he's doing really good, and he hasn't lost, and he has a pretty good record in championship games, and you should have bet against him. But I just think this Michigan Wolverines team, I think they're just something special. I think they're one of these teams if I were going to be talking about in years. So it's a really great basketball team, and no one can stop them. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see if Michigan starts off of a hot hand and goes that big like they did against Arizona. Will it be enough for UConn to come back, or will UConn, like Arizona, not be able to come back and fall down to the Wolverines of Michigan? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I know UConn has a good team. They have 5 losses, and Michigan only had like 3 losses. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't know, but if I was a gambling man, I'd probably put my money on Michigan to win tonight, because I just think they have the best odds right now, and they're playing the hottest basketball right now. I think they're the best team right now in all basketball, but we'll see. Like I said, you don't bet against Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies, because Connecticut always seems to be up there and always seems to be good at Dan Hurley as coach. Even if he's a hot-tempered coach or whatever and you don't like him, he always seems to be good and be able to coach his boys upright. But I just think, like I said, the way Michigan's playing and dominating everybody, I just think they dominate tonight. I don't know if it's going to be a close game, but we'll see. I hope it's a close game, but just the way, like I said, again, about how Michigan is dominating, I just think Michigan's going to win. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be in Indianapolis, Final Four, but it's going to be interesting. The game starts at 8:50 tonight. I don't know why it starts so late, why the game can't start at 8 o'clock, why it has to start at 8:50 on TBS and True TV and HBO Max. I don't know why it has to start so late. But it starts at 8:50 tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see how good it is. If Michigan goes out by a big lead at halftime, it's going to be interesting to see if people turn it off or if people keep watching. Because they're not every game. Arizona, it seems like when Michigan was up a lot by halftime, it seems like a lot of people were leaving the stadium from the game after half and near the end of the game when it didn't look like Arizona was going to come back. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, like I said, Michigan has been knocking down everybody. I mean, I know the first 2 games against Howard and St. Louis, you can say, okay, maybe those teams weren't as competitive as the other ones, but beating Alabama, Tennessee, Arizona, those are pretty good wins, and they won those by a big point spread. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Michigan Wolverines. Number 15 for Michigan's looking really good. He's looking really good for Michigan. Who's going to be the shining star tonight for Michigan? UConn opens up at a minus 110. Michigan's a minus 7.5 and a minus 105. The spread's at 6.5, they're minus 10. Plus two very money line. Jalen Reed Jr. for UConn has 14 points per game. Reed has 8.4 rebounds. And Demi Jr. has 6 point assists. So it's going to be interesting to see how good Reed can do against this high-powered Michigan Wolverines team and this high-powered Michigan Wolverines defense. If he can do good, that's going to be good, but they're going to need more than one player to step up against this Michigan team to show out because, like I said, Michigan's been dominating all the teams. And I like college basketball, but I have to agree with Barkley. I think this is one of the best teams we've seen in quite a while. And Barkley should know something because Barkley seems like he's always been doing college basketball, March Madness tournament time. So he knows stuff. Michigan is a minus 6.5 right now. Michigan's at 1.5 right now, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Shaq expects a close game against Michigan UConn, but we'll see. I hope it's a close game. That's all you really want for it. You don't want to watch a blowout. I mean, I know that Arizona game was okay, but it was kind of interesting to see how much Michigan could beat them by. But when a championship game is, you don't want to watch a blowout like we had yesterday in the women's game that we'll get into in a minute. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Dan Hurley's in his third national championship game. He's won one. Is he going to win another one? Or will it be the first time since 1980 that Michigan won? But it's going to be interesting to see how many people pick Michigan to win it all. And number 23 for Michigan has 15-point games. And Johnson Jr. has 7-point rebounds. And Claude has 5.9 assists. Michigan's looking really good. That number 15 guy is really tall. They just keep feeding him the ball. Michigan's going to have a good success winning. But UConn's pretty good too. Like I said, never bet against Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley always has a team prepared. That's why it seems like UConn's always in the Final Four and always in the big dance. Dan Hurley is a good coach, so we'll see. I hope it's a good game, but if I had to bet, I think Michigan's going to win. And this depends on how big a point spread it is. Because a lot of people thought Arizona and Michigan would be a lot closer than it was, but Arizona ran away with it. Michigan ran away with it quite early, and it didn't look like Arizona had a chance to come back after halftime, and they didn't. Michigan just had a really good showing, and they even lost one of their superstars to a knee injury, but he should be back. This is a little banged up right now, but he should be back tonight for the game that starts at 8:50. I don't know why it starts so late, why it can't start at 8 o'clock, but I'll be watching the game tonight, and I am hoping Michigan wins, since they haven't won it since 1980. But I just hope it's a good game, but it's going to be interesting to see. We'll get more into that game later tomorrow and talk more about it. But right now, it looks like Michigan's the favorite to win it, which they should be because, like I said, the way they've been playing everybody. They've been steamrolling everybody, and it's not even close. Michigan's a minus 6.5 right now if my Stache's bet. I mean, I don't bet, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Indianapolis tonight, where the Final Four is. I mean, Michigan's, like I said, has been knocking them out, but we'll see. It might be a good game. I hope it's a good game, but if I had to bet right now, I'm betting on Michigan to break the curse and finally win one since 1989 and break that drought, and we'll see a Michigan championship basketball team before we're going to get a new Grand Theft Auto game. But other than that, the other sports we missed this week were hockey. The Penguins are looking really good. They're only 2 points out from a playoff spot right now. That's great. But like I said at the beginning of the year, a lot of people thought that the Pittsburgh Penguins will be in the dumpster fire, and not that good, and trying to suck for Gavin McKinnon, the number one pick, or projected overall number one pick from Penn State. But like I said, you have to worry about a lottery draft because unlike NFL, where if you suck like the Jaguars, not the Jaguars, like the Browns always do, or like the Jets always do, you always seem to get a number one pick. The Jaguars are on the uprise right now. No, I meant to say the Jets, but like how the Jets always ding. And NFL, they don't have a lottery. It might make it more interesting if NFL had a lottery like NBA and NHL does, but if you stink, you always seem to be on top, like the Raiders and the Jets. But I'm glad the Penguins are turning around because we don't know how much longer we're going to have with Sidney Crosby and the boys. I saw a stat yesterday about paying $7 million combined to all three stars and have over 79 goals between Anthony Mantha, Brazil, and Raquel and some of these other ones. That's nice to see the Penguins are spending less money and getting really productive. Who would have thought that Anthony Mantha would have been this good? Anthony Mantha is having a career year and was injured last year and is on a prove-it deal this year, which a prove-it deal is not that much money in NHL. He's not making that much money, but he's having a career year. I know he might not re-sign with us because he might be making big money next year or somewhere else, but he's having a real good year. A real good year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But they won. They looked really good against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And on Saturday, they knocked off the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And I think I saw a report, I could be wrong, but this is the first time that the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions will be in the playoffs since like 1970, that won back-to-back years. So we have a new Stanley Cup championship this year. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the Penguins are only 2 points off right now. I'm not trying to say they're going to be in a playoff spot because we need to be worried about getting our 2 points to get in and not be worried about the playoffs because we're not in the playoffs yet until we get those 2 points, which is just win-win or whatever. But on Saturday, they played and Arthur Shelock was playing in net. You think that Arthur Shelock will play back-to-back games, but you're wrong because we'll get into that in a minute. Noel Chari is looking really good. Who would have thought? Noel Chari is looking really good. They really turned him around. Noel Chari is having a good year this year for the Penguins. A lot of these Penguin players and a lot of these other lines are doing good. It seemed like last 2 games, it seemed like all the lines are scoring, which is good. If that's nothing you need to go into the playoffs with, if we do make the playoffs, is have good lines and hope the lines can keep scoring. All 4 lines keep scoring. And you just can get the scoring from your top lines with Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. They can get it from your bottom 2 lines too when they're not on the ice. So they have a good lead to go on when they go back on the ice. George Char had a goal. Erik Karlsson had a goal. A lot of people this year, like I said, I don't know if I said this in my videos before, But a lot of people this year wanted, even including myself, wanted to see if they could move off of Erik Karlsson, because Erik Karlsson has not been looking really good the last few years underneath U.S. Olympic head coach Mike Sullivan. I don't know if it's just because his message was getting stale or what it was, or maybe this year he's just getting more used to the city, Karlsson, and the new coaches has him playing a lot better. Maybe it's a new coaching system. Maybe for some reason this coaching system just knew how to turn on a switch and get him a lot better. But Erik Karlsson, who we got from the San Jose Sharks, who I thought might have been a bust and not looking good last few years, has really turned around his career this year and is looking like hands down like the team MVP, because he's really stepped up the last few weeks and last few games when we didn't have Sidney Crosby, and after he really stepped up this season when we didn't have Sidney Crosby after winter All-Star break, or excuse me, not winter All-Star, against when we didn't have Crosby after the winter Olympic break because he got injured in the Winter Olympics. Erik Karlsson really stepped up and really helped the Penguins stay afloat and not fall apart. I really thought they might have fallen apart when we didn't have Sidney Crosby, but Erik Karlsson looked really good. Even when Evgeny Malkin went out for suspension and due to injuries, Erik Karlsson has really turned his team around and put him on his back and really helped him. So I'm glad they kept Erik Karlsson around. I'm really glad they did. Even recovered Erik Karlsson. I'm glad they kept Erik Karlsson around. He's looking really good this year. I wonder if it's just because of the new coaching system or what it is, but Erik Karlsson has really turned around his career for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Anthony Mantha has been another great player. Anthony Mantha came here on a prove-it deal, not that much money, but next year, like I said earlier in the video, he might be going somewhere else with a lot of money, which is going to stink because he's having a career year here. He's having one of his better career years as the Pittsburgh Penguin. But that's a real good addition by Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas is looking like a real good GM. A lot better than that bozo we had in Philadelphia before. I'm so glad we went to Toronto and got a new GM. I bet the Toronto Maple Leafs are mad that they lost Kyle Dubas because they fired their GM manager. Maybe Kyle Dubas wasn't the problem, but Kyle Dubas, who's really young, is looking really good as a general manager. I'm so glad they hired him as their general manager and got rid of that bozo from Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is one of our arch rivals, and I really do, in my bottom of my heart, think that guy was trying to screw us with all these crappy deals and crappy trades he did. I mean, who would have thought that Kyle Dubas would have been able to send Tristan Jarry to the Edmonton Oilers and got rid of that contract. That was a bad contract. Tristan Jarry had some good games, but it's always been up and down, and never really consistent as a goaltender, a good goaltender play. I know we might not have Stuart Skinner, but we do have Marichov, I think is how you pronounce his name, in the AHL that got called up, because we'll talk about it in a minute. But we do have Marichov coming up, that's looking really good in the NHL minor league system. So if we can do good in the pros, and that's good, we can have a good goaltender in the future. But I mean, Tristan Jarry was always up and miss, and he got rid of that contract to Edmonton Oilers. He's even been benched a couple of times in Edmonton. Tristan Jarry, but I read it on stuff, so that's a real good trade. If we got a second round pick, and we flipped the defensive player for another second round pick for the Colorado Avalanche, but that's a really good trade. But he did. He got rid of that contract. That was a bad contract on hand. I don't know why the general manager signed him to that much contract, because Tristan Jarry didn't look good. I was baffled when they signed him, but I'm glad they got rid of him now, because he wasn't that good, and he was eating up money when we could spend money on other players to keep a good team around Sidney Crosby, and we have a good goaltender in the minor league system, and Marichov, I think is how you pronounce his name. But that's good. I'm so glad they got rid of him. I mean, he was not looking good at all for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he's not looking good for the Edmonton Oilers, so that's a good trade that they got rid of him. And also bringing up Anthony Mantha. Anthony Mantha didn't have a good year last year. He was hurt a lot, I think I read it last year. But Anthony Mantha's having a career year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that's good to see that too. I really do think Kyle Dubas should win general manager of the year. I know the Buffalo Sabres have finally made the playoffs in 14 years, but I think they fired their general manager, so I don't know if this new guy can count in the manager of the year since he's been there for half a year. But maybe he can. I mean, he's another one that could be up there too if he can count. If he counts as they got a new an acting general manager. Also, the Buffalo Sabres are looking real good. Their coach could be the coach of the year, or Dan Meese could be coach of the year too. Which is like I said, a lot of people thought these Penguins should be sucking for Gavin McKinnon and not being competitive. But right now, for second and most goals scored, right behind the Colorado Avalanche, who are the best team in all hockey. But it's really good to see the Penguins doing good. And they're still number 2 in the Metro, and they only need 2 points to make the playoffs, which is really good. But we'll get back to Saturday's game here. Evgeny Malkin had a hat trick. Evgeny Malkin looked really good. He's really turned back the clock and really gone back to the fountain of youth. I'm really glad to see Evgeny Malkin looking really good. Evgeny Malkin's on a contract here. I really hope they re-sign Evgeny Malkin to more years, at least 2 more years, no more years, so he can finish his career out in Pittsburgh. We don't have to see him in a different sweater, different hockey jersey before he finishes his career out. But Evgeny Malkin has really turned his career around and looking really good and really playing really well this year. I really hope they have a good stretch in the playoffs if they make it. But Evgeny Malkin's doing really good. He had a hat trick. That's really nice. A hat trick is 3 goals that OC might be near the hockey in the game. And they all throw their hats on the ice. And they probably put them away in the trash afterwards. I don't know what they do with the hats after they clean them off the ice. But that's nice to see that the Penguins are doing good. And Evgeny Malkin had a hat trick. I really like Evgeny Malkin. He's one of my second favorite Penguin players, right behind Sidney Crosby. Elmore Slurrybaum had another goal. Elmore Slurrybaum from Detroit is looking really good too. Especially Chernikov that we got from but Elmore is looking really good. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but he's from Detroit. He's really tall, and he's had more goals here than he's had Detroit. I know he's only had 6 goals or whatever, but he's looking really good. He's looking really good. That's really good. Another good trade by Kyle Dubas and company. Ricardo Raquel was having a career year too. Raquel was another player that I heard today on the radio that they might have wanted to trade him now season, but I'm so glad he didn't, because Ricardo Raquel and this new general manager and new coaching system of Coach Dan Muse is looking really good and looking like a career year. I'm so glad. I hope Ricardo Raquel had a good playoff run if we make it. Ryan Shea had a goal, and Evgeny Malkin had a hat trick. But it's nice to see them score 9 goals. We were winning 9-2, and we're not turning the game on, so I was watching the Pirates game. But that's nice to see them do good. And also on Saturday, they knocked off the Florida Panthers out of the playoff hoops, like I said. They played Florida yesterday, and early in reports on Easter Sunday morning, I hope all you had a good Easter with your family and enjoyed it. But early reports on Easter Sunday was that goaltender Stuart Skinner had an upper body injury and was unable to go. So they had to put Arthur Shelock back in net, and Arthur Shelock played on Saturday. And for most people in hockey, if you have a back-to-back game, you don't play. If you have a back-to-back game, you don't play your goaltenders back-to-back games. You rest them and you play every goaltender, but they didn't have a backup chance because Stuart Skinner was hurt. But luckily, Arthur Shelock had a really good game and only gave up 2 goals last night against the Florida Panthers, who won back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And the Penguins have swept the series. Have swept the regular season series against the Florida Panthers, which is great. We got the Florida Panthers, like I said, won back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. We get to the most. Elmore, the guy we got from Detroit, had to get another goal. He's looking really good for the Penguins. That's a good trade that they did at the trade deadline, the guy from Detroit. Ricardo Raquel had another goal. Ricardo Raquel had 2 goals. Raquel was looking really good. He's having a career year, like I said earlier on in the video. And Brian Rust had a goal. And Sidney Crosby had a goal. And Chernikov, the guy from the Columbus Blue Jackets, he's looking really good too. A lot of people thought he wasn't that good. I don't know why we got him from the Columbus Blue Jackets, why they moved off of him. But it's their loss in our game. Chernikov has been looking really good from the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's another good trade by Kyle Dubas. He's really turned his career around in Pittsburgh too. And it's looking really good and it's on like one of the top lines. So that's great for the Penguins that they're doing good in trades finally. Because something that's been missing when they had a bad GM a couple years ago from Philadelphia. They did not do good at trades. But Sidney Crosby had another goal. And Sidney Crosby has 21 straight seasons of a point per game per season. That's quite impressive. He stands alone in the record books now. The next closest hockey player that's retired... The next closest hockey player, and he's retired, is Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne Gretzky did that for 19 seasons where he had point per a point per game per season. Crosby has done it for 21 straight seasons. Sidney Crosby is one of the greatest Penguin players and greatest hockey players in my lifetime. It could be considered one of the GOATs of all time. I know Wayne Gretzky's a good player, but he has more point per game per season than Wayne Gretzky did. It's going to be interesting to see who the next Sidney Crosby is going to be for the Penguins, because the Penguins have been lucked out for the last decade. First, they had Mario Lemieux, who was pretty good, and then they moved on to Sidney Crosby, who I think is one of my favorite players of all time and one of the greatest players I've seen play in hockey in my lifetime. I wonder how many more years that we have left of Sidney Crosby before he retires, but Sidney Crosby has been looking really good for the Pittsburgh Penguins and really turning around for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm so glad they got Sidney Crosby. I'm glad that he's on the Penguins. They won 5-2 last night, but Sidney Crosby, congratulations to the kid, the captain, the king of consistency, has 21 straight seasons of a point per game per season, boasted by any NHL player, current or retired. That's quite impressive. Hold your head up high, Sidney Crosby. We're only 2 points away from a playoff spot. We have off now until Thursday when we play the New Jersey Devils, and we'll get into that later. But those are really exciting games for the Pittsburgh Penguins, the last 2 games on Saturday and Sunday, and when they needed to win the most and get more points so they can have one more over the Devils and the Islanders. The Islanders even fired their coach, and they're still in a playoff hunt. I know the Philadelphia Flyers, the Stinky Flyers, have snuck up to third in the Metro, which would be interesting. If the Penguins hold on to number 2 and the Flyers hold on to 3 in the Metro, they'll be playing each other in the first round of playoffs. So it could be a Pennsylvania battle. But right now, we need to focus on 2 points. But the Penguins are looking really good. Dan Moose is looking like he could be coach of the year. I know Lindy Ruff might win Shoe and coach of the year because it's been 14 seasons since the Buffalo Sabres have made the playoffs, and they're looking really good. But Dan Moose is in that competition. Also, Kyle Dubas is in the competition to be general manager of the year. Like I said earlier, I don't know if the Buffalo Sabres could fall in that category, but I'm pretty sure I read that they fired a general manager in December. But I don't know. Maybe he can win. A national general manager could still win general manager of the year. It's going to be interesting to see when they hand out the NHL awards who wins these awards. But right now, the Penguins don't need to be worried about awards or worry about anything. They need to be worried about getting 2 more points. But it's not the only good sports team right now in Pittsburgh. These young Buccos are 5-3. They're on a 5-game win streak. Let's go Bucks! Hoist the cone! That traffic cone has been making its rounds just because they need a trap. It was reported earlier that the Pirates did that because they got a traffic cone in Cincinnati because they were having trouble scoring people when they had traffic on bases, so they're trying to get a traffic cone. And whenever people would score, they would hoist the cone up and hoist it up in the air. I can't believe how fast this trend has been going. There's been people I've seen in the stadium watching the game that have been dressed up in cone costumes or having a whole bunch of cones in the stadium. I'm glad they're doing this. This is like the Zoltan Z a few years back that the Penguins have been doing, and when they went on a run in the 15 years, or when they went on a run in 2015 and 14 when they made the playoffs in the wild card. And now in the wild card we have more than 1 game, so we'll see. But these young Pirate players are 5-3 and swept the Baltimore Orioles and have won all 3 games at home. They've lost 3 games on the road, but they've won all 3 games at home so far. They're playing the Padres tonight. We'll get into later in the video. But it's nice to see. The first sweep last year came in June. So it's nice to see the Penguins start off hot. Hope they can continue the hot streak. I know it's only April and the season has started. We're only 9 games in. But the Penguins are looking really good. The Pirates are looking really good. They even had to come back on Saturday to win the game. And there might have been a strike on one of the Pirate players, but luckily with the ABS challenge system, the Baltimore Orioles used all their challenges up on that. So they couldn't challenge the ball, but they called the ball to a strike. And then Nick York, who came in the DH to pitch run for Marcell Ozuna, had a double off the top, had a double to help the Pirates win the game and clinch the first home series. And clinch the first home series. But I'm glad to see the Pirates are winning. The Pirates are looking really, really good. On Saturday, they went 3-2, and they walked it off with Nick York. It's nice to see Nick York do something. It's nice to see these young Buccos do something. Maybe it's finally time that this general manager and owners showing up that they have a good farm system. I'm glad they're doing something for the Pirates. I mean, I'm glad they're hosting the Coin and putting on the Weather Smacks. And it's nice to see the Pirates have a good locker room. Even though baseball kid likes the Dodgers, who spend a lot of money on players, it's nice to see that they spend money on Connor Griffin. It's funny how he talks about spending money when his team spends $200 million on a pitcher and above that on a lot of players. I mean, come on, dog. But whatever. I'm glad the Pirates are winning. They won 3-2 yesterday, or Saturday, excuse me. And yesterday they won 8-2. It is nice to see. I know people have their opinions on. I know people have their opinion on O'Neal Cruz, but Cruz had a cruise missile yesterday, which is nice to see. I'm glad Cruz is doing good. He's looking better. I mean, he needs to fix his outfield blunders, but if we can get him to hit cruise missiles, which right now, as yesterday's video, I mean, it could change, but I think he leads all in National League teams to 4 home runs. So that's quite to see. And last year, he only had 11 hits, or whatever it was, off of left-handed hitters, and he has 7 hits already off of left-handed hitters. So he's really turned around his hitting this career. He's really focused on his hitting this offseason and turned around. I'm so glad to see the Pirates are doing something this year. They're on a 5-game win streak, and they're looking good tonight. Bubba Chandler goes tonight against the San Diego Padres at 6:05. But the Pirates looking really good. They're looking to win 6 straight. I hope they can hoist it coming again tonight. I know some people don't like that, but I like having excitement in the locker room. This team is looking really good. They finally have a team that looks like they can be competitive, and a Major League Baseball team and having people hit. I know Marcell Ozuna hasn't hit, and a lot of Pirate fans, including myself, are complaining because we got rid of Andrew McCutchen, who's a lifelong Pirate, for Marcell Ozuna, but it's 9 games in, so I'm not running for the fences yet. I'm going to give Marcell Ozuna some time, but he needs to start hitting, or they need to find someone else to play DH. But it is nice to see. And then Connor Griffin had an RBI double, his first at-bat for the Pirates. That is great to see that he had a first at-bat RBI double. I'm so glad the Pirates got him. Who would have thought that he would have lasted until 9 when he was one of the top prospects coming into baseball? I bet there's every team that passed up on him are going to regret it. But Connor Griffin's worth every money. I'm glad the Pirates are finally doing something. I mean, the Dodgers spend so much money that's not fair for baseball. That's why nobody likes the Dodgers unless they live in L.A. and a little sad, pathetic Los Angeles cat. But I'm so glad the Pirates are doing good. The Pirates are doing good. The Pirates play today. But I'm glad the Pirates are doing good. I'm glad to see Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn's looking really good. Ryan O'Hearn has a lot of RBI so far. I'm really glad he got Ryan O'Hearn in here. Ryan O'Hearn's having a career year so far this year and starting off really hot. Let's hope Ryan O'Hearn can do good. Even Brandon Lau. Brandon Lau is looking really good and has a really hot bat for the Pirates. And they traded for him from the Tampa Bay Rays. Even Magnum's looking good in some parts. And Montgomery's looking good as a pitcher in some parts he comes in. So they're looking like good trades so far and good ideas by the general manager. I'm just glad they're finally trying to make a competitive team and making a competitive team on roster before we lose Paul Scheme so if we don't get a salary cap or salary floor. I'm just glad the Pirates are finally doing something. I'm just really glad that the Pirates are finally doing something. The Tampa Bay Rays are beating the Cubs 4-2 right now in the bottom of the 5th. I think the Indians beat the Orioles. I think the Pirates beat the Padres. And the Boston Red Sox are pretty bad this year. They've only won 2 games, and they're 1-2 at home. They play the Brewers. I don't know who's going to win. The Brewers only have 2 losses. They're better than us right now by 1 loss. But who would have thought that the Pirates would be 5-3 and be up in there with the top teams this year? I know people like Baseball Kid, who knows something about baseball because he's a Dodgers fan, thinks the Pirates are the laughing stock of baseball, but they're not. They're pretty good this year, dog. Don't jump on the bandwagon now, dog. But the Pirates are looking really good. It's really nice to have Pittsburgh sports do good in April and be able to have enjoyment for Pittsburgh sports. I'm definitely got my Bucko fever right now to the max, but I'm glad the Pirates are doing good. But I think the Brewers beat the Red Sox. I think the Dodgers beat the Blue Jays, but I'm rooting for the Blue Jays. I think the Astros beat the Rockies. I think the Marlins beat the Reds. The Marlins are looking pretty good. They're 6-3 just like the Pirates. But the Marlins looking pretty good. I think the Nationals beat the Cardinals. I think the Orioles beat the White Sox. I think the Tigers beat the Twins. I think the Mariners beat the Rangers. But yesterday, the Mariners played the Angels, and one of the Angel players, I can't remember his name, robbed the Mariners of 3 home runs in the game. That's quite impressive. No one would have thought someone could ever do that in a baseball game. The same player robbed someone of 3 home runs. And the last year was quite impressive to rob the last person of a home run. But I wonder if teams are going to try to game plan not hit the ball towards that guy in the outfield because he's been robbing people of home runs. But to do it 3 times in one game is quite impressive in a Major League Baseball setting. I think the Braves beat the Angels tonight, and I think the Phillies beat the Giants. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I'll be watching the college basketball playoffs tonight. I think the Pistons beat the Magic. I think the Cavaliers beat the Grizzlies. I think the Spurs beat the Sixers. And I think the Trailblazers beat the Nuggets. Or the Nuggets beat the Trailblazers. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see. I hope you all had a good Easter like I did. But it'll be interesting. I'm really glad, like I said, that the Pirates and Penguins are doing really good. The Penguins need 2 points to make the playoff. They're looking really good. They're looking like a team to beat. Hopefully they can do good. It'd be interesting if they play the Philadelphia Flyers, the most hated team in Philadelphia besides Pittsburgh besides the Capitals. But it'd be nice to see them play them. It's nice to see the Buffalo Sabres finally make a Stanley Cup playoff. The last time they did it was 2011, 14 years ago. It was one of the longest droughts in all of Major League Hockey, but now they broke it. And looking like they could be one of the top teams in the East. Who would have figured at December when they looked like they were going to be in the bottom, but the Buffalo Sabres would have turned around the season and it looks really good. But the Buffalo Sabres are looking really good. I think, like I said earlier, I think Michigan's going to win tonight. Like I said, Michigan's been steamrolling them. Everybody, it's going to be interesting to see if Ucoon can handle Michigan's really powerful starting 5. The number 15 guys are really tall. They just keep hitting the ball, but we'll see. I hope it's a good game, but it's going to be interesting to see what Michigan does tonight. Like I said, they've been taking care of business on the other hands and beating Arizona and all these other teams, Alabama and Tennessee, pretty handily. Is Ucoon going to be able to be a competitive matchup tonight, or is it going to be another blowout? I know Barkley's guaranteed to win, and some people could say Barkley's a kiss of death, but I think Michigan's going to win tonight. I hope that Stuart Skinner's not out too bad because we need Stuart Skinner to be back soon for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Also, it seems like the University of North Carolina has found their man. It looks like Mark Malone is going to go to UNC. But being next Tar Heels coach. Mark Malone needs to coach the Denver Nuggets, I think, in NBA basketball. So that's a good hire. A lot of people thought Billy Donovan think he's the coach of Gators, but it looks like it's going to be Mark Malone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Mark Malone does accept that coaching job as coach of the UNC Tar Heels. We'll talk more about sports tomorrow, but I'm just glad the Penguins won back-to-back games and swept the Florida Panthers. I'm glad the Pirates were swept too. The Pirates looking really good. I'm glad this cone thing that was a misprint on a t-shirt and it was a traffic thing to get people on traffic on basis has finally sparked the plug. This baseball team is looking really good. They're looking a lot better than other teams in the past, in my personal opinion. I'm just glad to be a Buckeyes fan this year. I know it's early in the season and things can turn around, but right now, I really got Buckeye fever and really hope it continues. I think they're going to be able to beat the Padres tonight. Bubba Chandler goes. It's going to be good to see what the young guy can do. And Paul Skeens is starting to come back into his own last game. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see. The Pirates are looking really good too. Donnie Kelly, he's a young general manager, has looked really good for the Pirates. I'm glad the general manager's finally doing something. I don't think he's a good general manager, and I think they should have moved on from him. But this year, he's looking really good and changing my opinion so far. I know it's only 9 games in the season, but I'm just glad they're finally spending money because the Dodgers spend too much money. But I'm glad they're finally spending money and putting players in places they need to be. But thank you for watching Stache Sports. I hope you all had a good Easter and have a good week. But thank you for watching Stache Sports.